that the grounds set out in the censor motion are the grounds upon which a minister may be censored, as indicated in Article 119 of the Constitution. The committee must also look at the evidence and supporting documents to find out if they establish a prima facie case, and this case must be against the Honorable Minister. What does a prima facie case mean in this incident? It should be sufficient to establish a fact or raise a presumption unless refuted or disproved. For example, in a case of burglary, the prosecution must present evidence that the defendant entered the premises without authorization, with intention to commit burglary and actually stole. So we are looking for the ingredients in the evidence you are going to present before us. The committee will also ask both parties to examine the credibility of this evidence and reliability, and examine whether it proves or disapproves any fact or matter. This can be done by relying on various things, for example, the principles of evidence and the Evidence Act. The burden of proof, like you are aware, lies with the mover of the motion and the seconders. The minister shall at all times be presumed innocent and shall only be required to defend herself on allegations made against her. The evidence on each contentious issue during this committee meeting must be considered on the balance of probabilities for the right decision to be made. This means that whatever evidence is produced before us, we must consider everything you submit within that evidence. The rights of the minister, 108, the committee must take cognizance of its quasi-judicial status. And the minister therefore has constitutional rights, and namely, she has the right to appear to defend herself or send a representative. I am not sure if she has sent a representative or she's coming. B, the right to cross-examine any person who appears before the committee, and lastly, the right to access all the evidence that is adduced before the committee by any witness. Honorable members present, this is how we are going to conduct ourselves. You can refer to Chigundu vs. Kasuja. Apart from personal service, like in any other modes of service, service by email or Facebook or WhatsApp or any other technological advanced means are calculated at providing parties with notice of existence of a suit or hearing date for their response or attendance. So, based on the clerk's communication, the Honorable Minister was served. Whether she's reasons to why she has not come are still unknown to this committee. However, the committee will proceed ex parte. She was invited to attend this proceeding. She's supposed to attend tomorrow as well to defend herself in whatever will be presented here today, and whatever evidence was submitted to her when the mover of the motion presented this motion on the floor. So, honorable members, are you comfortable that she was served?
Just maybe just two things. The clerk should also read for us the email address in which she sent the motion. Secondly, it would be important after the proceedings of today, if there is additional evidence that has not been sent to her, that it be sent to her also.
Kindly read the email. Whatever evidence is presented here today, in the Honorable Minister's absence, it will be sent to her. Because you may give us evidence today that you did not lay on the floor. So all the evidence presented today will also be sent to her. Hopefully she will come tomorrow. Clerk, kindly read the email address. and the date and time.
Chair, I maybe can give some clarification. And you have already summoned us to come in, including Honorable Precious Namuganza, that has been also invited. And we are going to make a case and present the matter before you. Is it in order, maybe if you can make this clarification, now that she's not here, and yet you wanted her to be here, would it not be so much of the laborious work you're going to put on you again to start serving her with all the proceeding of today? Or now that you had invited her, she would be here by herself. Then tomorrow she comes, you expect her to be here. Then you hear from her if there's anything for her to say about it. Maybe you can make that clarification.
Okay. Now, Honorable Court, we are not serving her fresh, but she has the right to access all the evidence that is presented before this committee. Like I read in Rule 108 of our Rules of Procedure. However, that cannot stop us from proceeding. Where a person is served with a court process and does not appear, court is allowed to proceed ex parte and determine the matter in question. I refer you to a case, Fox-Odoi versus the AG Constitutional Petition number 54 of 2013. The Constitutional Court held that the right to be heard is limited to the opportunity to be heard. And where a tribunal avails to an individual an opportunity to be heard, and that individual fails or refuses to appear before it, it cannot be stated that he or she was denied a right to be heard. So we will proceed ex parte. Like you have heard, we served using the right procedure, and this cannot stop us from proceeding. So without wasting much of the time, clerk, honorable members wanted the date and time of the email and the email address.
Honorable Chair and members, the email address is P Namuganza @parliament.go.ug. That's our official email here at Parliament. And the date for the email is 11 because it was sent after we had sent the other document. The physical document after I had confirmed she had received. And then also the time is 27 a.m. in the morning.
We want you to tell us what grounds are you basing on to move this motion of censure, and what grounds were captured in your motion?
Precisely is misconduct and misbehavior.
So, because we cannot alter the motion right now, the motion was presented on the floor, so we cannot co-opt abuse of office right now. You are supposed to be providing us with evidence on the grounds that were presented in your motion on the floor. 118 of the Article 118 of the Constitution. 1. Parliament may, by resolution, supported by more than half of all its members of Parliament, pass a vote of censure against a minister on any of the following grounds: A, abuse of office; B, misconduct or misbehavior, which you have just mentioned.
I am accompanied by members of Parliament who supported the motion for the censure of Honorable Person Namuganza, Princess, State Minister for Lands, Housing, Urban Development, Housing, and I am grateful to them. Honorable members, you will recall that on the 9th December 2022, I notified the clerk to Parliament of my intention to move the motion to censure Honorable Namuganza on grounds of misconduct and misbehavior as prescribed in Article 118(1)(b) of the Constitution. In accordance with the rules of procedure of Parliament, I solicited and obtain signatures of at least 1/3 of the members. And following my compliance with the rules of procedure, I was authorized. And on the 23rd December 2022, I moved a motion in the House for censure of Honorable Princess Namuganza, Princess, a State Minister for Lands, Housing, and Urban Development Housing. The motion I moved for the censure of Honorable Princess Namuganza, the State Minister for Lands, Housing, and Urban Development, arose from the unbecoming conduct of Honorable Namuganza and the need to restore the dignity, respect, and independence of Parliament in light of attacks from some people like her, who through their actions have denigrated public trust and confidence in the integrity of the members and the institution of Parliament, and brought the House and its members into disrepute. Honorable members, you will recall that on the 1st March 2022, Parliament constituted an ad hoc committee to investigate the Nakawa-Naguru land allocations on the persons who were adversely mentioned by the committee. I beg my pardon. Let me repeat that point. Honorable members, you will recall that on the 1st March 2022, Parliament constituted an ad hoc committee to investigate the Nakawa-Naguru land allocation. One of the persons who were adversely mentioned by the committee was Honorable Namuganza, whom the ad hoc committee found to have abused our office and authority by directing Uganda Land Commission to allocate land to some entities. The committee recommended that Honorable President Namuganza be held accountable. You will further recall that on the 18th May 2022, Parliament adopted the report of the ad hoc committee on the Naguru-Nakawa land allocation, including the recommendation that Honorable President Namuganza be held accountable. Following the adoptions of the report and recommendations, and instead of Honorable Namuganza being remorseful, apologetic, and taking lessons from the matters that led to the above findings, she made statements about Parliament in the media and on social media, attacking the operations of Parliament, questioning the powers of Parliament, the integrity of the presiding officers of Parliament, and imputing improper motive to Parliament and its presiding officers. These allegations were raised at the 7th sitting of the first meeting of the second session of the 11th Parliament held on Wednesday, the 13th July 2022 by Honorable Selwanya Solomon, the MP, Bukole County Central. And the presiding officer referred the matter to the Committee on Rules, Privileges, and Discipline to examine and report back to the House within 2 weeks. The Committee on Rules, Privileges, and Discipline instituted investigations into the matter and heard from and received evidence from members of Parliament, including Honorable Selwanya, who was supported by the testimonies of Honorable Saro Pendi, Honorable Eliza Ekupa, and the administrators of the 11th Parliament official WhatsApp group, and Honorable Kibolier Henry Maurice, that articulated and presented evidence to the committee, which evidence proved that Honorable Namuganza had made derogatory statements about Parliament during a television interview with NTV Uganda regarding the report of the Naguru-Nakawa land allocations. The committee also observed that the statements made by Honorable Namuganza on social media imputed improper motives to Parliament and its presiding officers, and were therefore an affront to the dignity of Parliament. They denigrated public trust and confidence in the integrity of the office of the Speaker, members, and the institution of Parliament, and brought the House and its members into disrepute. In addition, the statements on Namuganza made in an interview with NTV were contemptuous, demeaning of the institution of Parliament and undermined its authority. The committee found that the conduct and behavior of Honorable Namuganza constitutes gross misconduct and misbehavior and is not befitting of a member of Parliament, more so a minister. The committee recommended that the House invokes Articles 118, 1B of the Constitution and Rules 106 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament to censure her. The House adopted the report of the committee on the 7th December 2022. Honorable members, you will recall that on 7th December 2022, Honorable Namuganza was granted an opportunity to apologize to the House, the institution of Parliament, the presiding officers of Parliament and members of Parliament, and in spite pleas from many members of Parliament, including from senior member of Cabinet, the Prime Minister, and various other members of the August House. Honorable Namuganza refused to render an apology to the House. The refusal by Honorable Namuganza to apologize shows an unrepentant person who is unwilling to learn from experience and take responsibility for their actions. Since apologizing is part of the seeking humility, and humility is a character quality God holds in high esteem. I can refer you, for those who read the Bible, when you can go to James chapter number 4, and which says, humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and he will exalt and excuse you. Apologizing humble us by reminding us that we are not perfect and we need forgiveness from God and from men or people. Following the refusal by Honorable Namuganza to render an apology to the House, I decided to take steps to implement the parliamentary resolution of censure her from office, hence the motion was moved. Remember, the House had also made, we cannot just adopt the report like that. We need to take and follow our rules of procedures and the laws that govern, so that the process should move from notification onwards until the stage now where we have reached. Honorable members, the decision to censure a minister is not a decision that should be taken lightly, as if it has far-reaching consequences on the minister, his or her family, the cabinet, the appointing authority, the country at large. This explains why the Constitution deemed it necessary that ministers should be censored on a prescribed grounds, which I am pleased you have enumerated to it very clearly. But for the sake of the people who came late, I am aware that Articles 118 provides for specific grounds for the censure of a minister. And Article 118 is reproduced below, as I want to read for some of people. Parliament may, by resolution supported by more than half of all members of Parliament, pass a vote of censure against a minister on any of the following grounds: abuse of office, or willful violations of the oath of allegiance or oath of office, misconduct or misbehavior, being part B, then part C, physical and mental incapacity, namely that EOC is incapable of performing the function of his or her office by reason of physical or mental
incapacity. Then the D part, mismanagement, or then the last one, incompetence. Honorable members, you realize that the motion I moved in the House and the supporting documents indicated one ground for sense of Honorable Princess Namuganza, Princess, State Minister for Lands, Housing and Urban Development, being misbehavior and misconduct. Honorable members, the conduct of Honorable Princess Namuganza, Princess, was examined by the Rules, Privilege and Discipline in its report on the inquiry into allegations of misconduct and misbehavior against Honorable Princess Namuganza, State Minister for Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Housing, and found that on the 21st, 22nd May 2022, and again on the 12th and 13th July 2022, Honorable Princess Namuganza, Princess, made statements about Parliament in the media, on social media, attacking the operations of Parliament, questioning the powers of Parliament, the integrity of presiding officers of Parliament, and imputing improper motive to Parliament and its presiding officer. In finding Honorable Princess Namuganza, Princess, guilty of misbehavior and misconduct, the committee received evaluations and admitted various pieces of evidence, which included A, except from the Daily Monitor online newspapers of the 22nd May 2022, with the aiding, I want to take now this seriously, with the aiding, Parliament has no powers to suspend me, Namuganza said, which is available at the official website of the Daily Monitor. I can quote, https www.monitor.co.ug/Uganda/news national/parliament has no powers to suspend me, Namuganza. 382346. When you go to that website, you will find what Daily Monitor on their interviews with Honorable Namuganza, which he said, Parliament has no powers to suspend her. Told that on 7 December 2022, Honorable Namuganza was granted an opportunity to apologize to the House, the institution of Parliament, the presiding officers of Parliament and members of Parliament, and in spite pleas from many members of Parliament, including from senior member of Cabinet, the Prime Minister, and various other members of the August House, Honorable Namuganza refused to render an apology to the House. The refusal by Honorable Namuganza to apologize shows an unrepentant person who is unwilling to learn from experience and take responsibility for their actions, since apologizing is part of the seeking humility. And humility is a character quality God holds in high esteem. I can refer you, for those who read the Bible, when you can go to James chapter number 4, and which says, humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and he will exalt and excuse you. Apologizing humble us by reminding us that we are not perfect and we need forgiveness from God and from men or people. Following the refusal by Honorable Namuganza to render an apology to the House,